You ever stop and think about what's actually happening inside your computer at this very second? It's kind of chaotic, but there's a system to it all, a kind of information superhighway that makes everything work. And that's what we're going to dive into today, the data bus.
I mean, really think about it. How does your computer's brain, the processor, talk to its memory? How does something as simple as you clicking the mouse turn into an action on your screen, like instantly? It's a huge communication puzzle, and it's absolutely central to how your computer does, well, anything.
Well, the answer is pretty cool, actually. All those different parts, they use a high-speed data highway. Yep, a highway, built just for information. And that's the big idea we're going to unpack.
Okay, so what exactly is this data highway? Let's get into the specifics.
All right, here's the official definition. A data bus is just a pathway that lets data travel between all the different parts inside your computer. You can basically think of it as the physical roads, the actual wiring that all the information travels on.
And this picture here really helps visualize it, right? You've got the processor over here and the main memory over there. And that thing right in the middle, the data bus, that's the bridge connecting them. That's our information highway, right there in action.
Okay, so we know what it is. But how does it actually work? It's actually not as complicated as you might think. It really just boils down to two main things. And those two things are its size and its direction. If we go back to that highway idea for a second, you can describe any highway by how many lanes it has, right? That's its size. And you can describe it by whether traffic goes one way or both ways. That's its direction. A data bus is pretty much the exact same deal. So let's talk size first. You'll often hear about a 32-bit data bus. Now, yeah, most modern computers are 64-bit, but the 32-bit concept is the perfect way to understand how this works. So what does that number 32 actually mean? This is where that highway analogy really comes in handy. A 32-bit data bus is basically a highway with 32 separate lanes, all running next to each other. And each one of those lanes can carry one little piece of data, one bit. And here's why that's so important. Because it has 32 lanes, it can transfer 32 bits of data at the exact same time. It's not a single file line of cars, it's a whole fleet moving at once. That's what gives it so much speed. So that's the size. What about the direction of all that traffic?
So is this thing a one-way street or a two-way street? Can data only go from the processor to the memory, or can it also come back the other way?
If we look at that diagram again, you'll see the arrows on the data bus are actually pointing in both directions, and that tells you everything you need to know. It means data can go from the processor to the memory, and it can come right back from the memory to the processor. The technical term for that is bidirectional. It's a two-way street, which means information can be read and written using the same exact highway. All right, so we've got this big, multi-lane, two-way highway for our data. Cool, but why should you care? How does all this techie stuff actually affect you when you're just, using your computer?
Well, it matters a lot. There's a quote that really sums it up perfectly. The speed of the data bus also affects the overall processing power of a computer system. Basically, how good this highway is can either be a massive booster for your computer's performance or a serious bottleneck.
Let's just trace that logic for a second. It's pretty straightforward. The wider the data bus is, think 64 lanes instead of 32, the more data it can transfer at once. And if you can transfer more data all at once, that leads to more processing power for the whole system. More lanes, more data, more power. Simple. And more processing power isn't just some tech buzzword, right? It's something you actually feel. It means your games are going to run faster with way less lag. It means your video editing is smoother. Your apps just pop open instantly. Basically, your whole computer just feels faster and more responsive. And a big piece of that puzzle is the width of that data bus. So there you have it. The data bus is the highway inside your computer. How many lanes it has and the fact that it's a two-way street, all of that directly impacts how fast your computer feels. Which kind of leaves us with one last question to chew on, doesn't it? If the data bus is the highway, then what's the traffic? What's the actual stuff that's racing back and forth on it?